Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are not just looking at a new engine. We are witnessing the final, brutal, mathematically perfect execution of the two most dominant powertrain technologies of the last 100 years. The diesel engine, destroyed. The traditional gasoline engine, obsolete. Both of them killed simultaneously by a single 2.5-liter four-cylinder power plant developed by the smallest mainstream automaker in the world. A company that builds fewer vehicles in an entire year than Toyota builds in a single quarter. A company that the European auto press dismissed as a boutique brand just 5 years ago. That company is Mazda. The engine is called the SkyActiv-Z. And what they have just unveiled is an engineering weapon so devastating, so philosophically threatening to the existing order of the automotive industry that European regulators are quietly panicking. German diesel engineers are updating their resumes, and Toyota's hybrid strategy has just been exposed as a stalling tactic. Today, we are going to tear down, piece by piece, exactly how Mazda just made the entire concept of separate diesel and gasoline engines completely irrelevant. By the end of this video, you will understand why this is the most important combustion engine announcement of the last 3 decades, and why the EV-only crowd in Brussels is suddenly very, very quiet. Let's get into it. To understand the absolute carnage that Mazda is about to unleash on the global automotive market, you first have to understand what diesel actually was, and why it dominated for over a century. The diesel engine, invented by Rudolf Diesel in 1892, won the heavy-duty world for one simple reason: compression ignition. Instead of using a spark plug to ignite fuel, a diesel engine compresses air to such an extreme pressure that the air itself becomes hot enough to ignite fuel on contact. No spark needed. The result was an engine that delivered massive low-end torque, exceptional fuel efficiency, and the kind of long-distance highway range that gasoline engines could never match. Trucks ran on diesel. Tractors ran on diesel. Long-haul SUVs in Europe ran on diesel. Mercedes built an entire luxury empire on diesel sedans that could cross continents on a single tank. Then, in 2015, Volkswagen got caught cheating emissions tests on a global scale. The Dieselgate scandal exposed what insiders had known for years. Diesel engines, despite their efficiency, produced catastrophic levels of nitrogen oxide pollution. NOx emissions cause respiratory disease. They cause smog. They cause early death in dense urban environments. Cities across Europe began banning diesel vehicles outright. Paris banned them. London banned them. Madrid banned them. Mercedes quietly killed off entire diesel model lines. BMW slashed their diesel production. Audi pulled diesel from the United States completely. By 2024, diesel was effectively dead as a passenger car technology in the West. The most efficient mass production engine architecture ever created, gone, killed by its own emissions problem. But here is the part that nobody in the auto industry wanted to admit out loud. Killing diesel created an enormous problem because nothing replaced it. Gasoline engines couldn't match diesel's efficiency. Hybrid systems were complicated, expensive, and added hundreds of kilograms of dead weight. Battery electric vehicles couldn't haul cargo across Germany in winter without strategic charging stops. The transition from diesel to anything else was supposed to be electric, but the charging infrastructure didn't exist. The cold weather killed the range, and the European auto industry started losing 50,000 jobs per year because nobody had a clean answer. For 10 years, every major automaker tried to solve this. Toyota threw billions at hybrids. BMW engineered new turbocharged inline-sixes. Mercedes pivoted to all-electric and then quietly walked it back. Volkswagen restructured. Stellantis cut production. The diesel engine left a hole in global transportation that no single technology could fill. And then Mazda, a company so small that most American consumers can't name 3 of its models, quietly walked into the room and dropped an engineering bomb that solves the entire problem with one engine. The SkyActiv-Z is Mazda's first completely new engine architecture since 2014. Let that number register for a moment. While Toyota was launching new hybrid systems every 18 months, while BMW was rolling out engine updates twice a year, while Hyundai was developing entirely new powertrain families, Mazda spent 13 years 13 years, refusing to launch a new engine until they had something genuinely revolutionary. What they have just announced is exactly that. The SkyActiv-Z is a 2.5-liter inline four-cylinder gasoline engine that incorporates two technologies that until this moment the global engineering community considered fundamentally incompatible. Lambda 1 combustion across the entire RPM range and spark-controlled compression ignition, also known as SPCCI. Now stay with me here because this is the part that changes everything. Every gasoline engine ever built operates on a fundamental compromise. To make power efficiently, you want a perfect air-to-fuel ratio. Engineers call this Lambda 1. Exactly the right amount of oxygen for exactly the right amount of fuel, with nothing wasted, nothing left over. In a perfect Lambda 1 burn, every molecule of fuel is consumed, every molecule of oxygen reacts, and the engine extracts the absolute maximum amount of energy from the combustion event. The problem? Lambda 1 only works in a narrow operating window. As soon as the engine revs higher, or loads up under acceleration, or operates in cold conditions, the air-fuel ratio drifts away from perfect. The engine starts running rich, too much fuel, not enough oxygen, wasted energy out the exhaust. Or it runs lean, not enough fuel, incomplete combustion, NOx emissions skyrocket. Every gasoline engine on Earth makes this compromise. It is the central limitation of internal combustion, and for over a century, it was considered unsolvable. Mazda just solved it. The SkyActiv-Z achieves Lambda 1, perfect stoichiometric combustion, across the entire operating range of the engine. From idle to redline, from cold start to highway cruising, from light throttle to wide open acceleration. Every single combustion event in the engine extracts the maximum possible energy from the fuel. The implications are catastrophic for the rest of the industry. This means the SkyActiv-Z, in real-world driving conditions, achieves thermal efficiency numbers that turbocharged competitors cannot touch. It means fuel economy that approaches diesel territory without diesel's NOx problem. It means CO2 emissions that meet Europe's brutal Euro 7 standards, North America's LEV 4 standards, and Tier 4 emissions regulations, without needing a hybrid system to cheat the test cycles. This is what every European luxury manufacturer has been trying to engineer for the last 15 years. Mazda just shipped it. But Lambda 1 combustion is only half of what makes the SkyActiv-Z a weapon. The other half is SPCCI, spark-controlled compression ignition. And this is where Mazda has done something that German engineering teams literally said was impossible. The SkyActiv-Z is a gasoline engine. It has spark plugs. It runs on regular pump gasoline. But here is what nobody saw coming. Under specific operating conditions, cruising on the highway, light loads, partial throttle, the SkyActiv-Z stops behaving like a gasoline engine entirely. The spark plugs become almost irrelevant. The engine compresses the air-fuel mixture to such an extreme pressure that the mixture self-ignites, exactly like a diesel engine. Read that sentence again. Mazda has built a gasoline engine that operates as a compression ignition diesel engine for most of its driving life. The fuel is gasoline. The pump is the same pump you've been using for 50 years. But the combustion process, the actual physics of how energy is extracted from the fuel, switches between conventional spark ignition and diesel-style compression ignition based on what the engine needs at any given millisecond. This is what kills the diesel engine forever. Because Mazda has just delivered the diesel cycle's efficiency advantage. The entire reason diesel engines exist, without diesel's catastrophic NOx emissions problem. Without diesel's particulate matter, without diesel's expensive AdBlue urea injection systems, without diesel's mandatory particulate filters. A SkyActiv-Z 4-cylinder running in compression ignition mode is mathematically more efficient than a turbocharged BMW 4-cylinder running in conventional spark mode. It is cleaner than a Mercedes diesel by orders of magnitude. It produces less CO2 per kilometer than a hybrid Toyota in real-world driving conditions, because the Toyota's small gasoline engine is constantly fighting Lambda, compromises that the SkyActiv-Z has eliminated entirely. One engine, 2 combustion modes, diesel efficiency, gasoline cleanliness, hybrid killing thermal performance, 0 compromises. Mazda has just made the entire concept of separate diesel and gasoline engines completely obsolete. Now here comes the bombshell that nobody in the European auto press wants to discuss. In a recent technical interview published on Mazda's official corporate channel, two of the lead engineers behind the SkyActiv-Z program, Masahisa Yamakawa from the Technical Research Center and Michiharu Kawano from the Model-Based Development Innovation Department, said something that should make every electric vehicle executive in California physically sick. They confirmed that Mazda is actively working on what they call carbon-negative internal combustion engines. Carbon-negative engines. Engines that, when burning synthetic fuels produced from atmospheric CO2, actually remove more carbon from the air than they emit. Engines that, the more you drive them, the cleaner the atmosphere gets. Now stop and think about what this does to the entire EV-only argument. The fundamental moral case for electric vehicles is that they reduce atmospheric carbon. That is the entire pitch. That is why governments subsidize them. That is why Brussels wants to ban combustion engines by 2035. That is why Tesla exists. Mazda has just announced that they are engineering an internal combustion engine that is more carbon negative than an electric vehicle charged from a coal-fired power plant, which, by the way, is how the majority of EVs in China and India are actually charged. The SkyActiv-Z, in its production form launching in 2027, will not yet be carbon negative. Mazda has been clear about that, but the platform is engineered from day one to accept synthetic fuels, hydrogen-blended gasoline, and atmospheric capture-derived hydrocarbons. The pathway to carbon-negative combustion is not a research dream. It is an engineering roadmap with a publicly stated timeline. European regulators built their entire 2035 ban on the assumption that combustion engines could not become carbon neutral. Mazda's response was not a press release, it was an engine. Let's talk about what this means for the actual market, because the strategic implications are devastating. The SkyActiv-Z launches in late 2027 in the next generation Mazda CX-5. The CX-5 is Mazda's best-selling vehicle on Earth. It will be paired with Mazda's first in-house developed full hybrid system, meaning Mazda is no longer borrowing Toyota's hybrid technology the way they did with the CX-50 hybrid. Mazda has just declared engineering independence from Toyota. But here is where it gets dangerous for the entire European luxury industry. Mazda has confirmed that the SkyActiv-Z architecture will not stay in four-cylinder form. The same Lambda 1 combustion technology and SPCCI control systems are being scaled up into a brand new inline-six engine, a rear-wheel drive luxury inline-six designed to compete directly with BMW's legendary B58 inline-six and Mercedes inline-six AMG engines. A small Japanese company that doesn't even sell a flagship sedan in most markets is about to drop an inline-six luxury engine that achieves Lambda 1 combustion across the entire rev range, runs in compression ignition mode for highway cruising, and meets Euro 7 emissions without needing a 48-volt mild hybrid system to cheat its way through the test cycle. BMW's engineering team will look at this and quietly update their resumes. The luxury inline-six segment, which BMW has dominated for 50 years, which Mercedes has dominated for 60 years, is about to be invaded by an engine that is mathematically superior to anything currently in production. But the part that should genuinely terrify Toyota, Honda, and the entire hybrid-first Japanese industry is what this engine does to the existing hybrid playbook. Toyota's Prius, Honda's hybrid Civic, the entire Lexus hybrid lineup. Every modern hybrid uses a small, efficiency-optimized gasoline engine paired with electric motors and a battery. The gasoline engine is deliberately weak. It is deliberately compromised on power because the hybrid logic assumes that the engine needs help, that combustion alone cannot deliver both efficiency and performance. The SkyActiv-Z just proved that assumption wrong. A 2.5-liter Lambda 1 combustion engine with SPCCI delivers in real-world driving fuel economy numbers that rival full hybrid systems. Without the hybrid system, without the battery, without the regenerative braking, without the planetary gear set, without the additional 150 kilograms of dead weight that every Toyota hybrid carries around. When Mazda pairs the SkyActiv-Z with their new in-house full hybrid system in 2027, the resulting powertrain will likely outperform every Toyota hybrid currently in production, because Mazda's hybrid system is now bolted to an engine that was already operating at the theoretical maximum of combustion efficiency before the electric motor was added. Toyota has spent 25 years building the world's best hybrid systems around mediocre gasoline engines. Mazda has just spent 13 years building the world's best gasoline engine and is now putting a hybrid system on top of it. The math does not favor Toyota. Now let's zoom out and look at the geopolitics, because this is also a story about Japan refusing to die. The European Union spent the last decade telling the global auto industry that combustion engines were finished. Brussels regulators set a hard 2035 ban. Climate panels demanded all-electric futures. Western media declared the engine dead. China responded by becoming the world's largest EV manufacturer and dominating the lithium, cobalt, and battery supply chains with state-level coordination. Japan was caught in the middle. Toyota stalled with hybrids. Honda hedged with both. Nissan fumbled with the Leaf. And Mazda, the smallest, most engineering-obsessed Japanese automaker, went silent for almost a decade. What they were doing during that silence was engineering the SkyActiv-Z. This is not just an engine announcement. This is Japan's structural answer to China's EV dominance and Brussels' regulatory aggression. It is an internal combustion engine that satisfies every emissions standard in the world without needing batteries built in China, without needing rare earth minerals controlled by Beijing, without needing charging infrastructure that does not yet exist outside of major Western cities. Every country with a developed road network and a gasoline distribution system can run a SkyActiv-Z engine on day one. No infrastructure investment required, no grid upgrades required, no supply chain dependency on hostile foreign powers. This is the engine that allows Japan, Europe, and North America to maintain energy and manufacturing sovereignty while still meeting climate goals. It is the engine that frees Western consumers from waiting for Chinese-controlled battery technology to catch up. It is the engine that exposes the entire EV transition timeline as a geopolitical surrender disguised as a climate policy. Mazda did not just build an engine, they built a strategic weapon. Now let me address the elephant in the room, because credibility matters more than hype, and there are people watching this video who will say Mazda has overpromised before. That is true. The previous generation engine, SkyActiv-X, which used a similar compression ignition principle, launched in 2019 and underdelivered. Real-world fuel economy gains were smaller than promised. The complexity of the combustion management system caused reliability concerns in some early units. The price premium over the SkyActiv-G base engine was difficult to justify for most buyers. By 2024, Mazda had quietly de-emphasized SkyActiv-X across most of their lineup. This is the legitimate counterargument, and we are not going to ignore it. But the SkyActiv-Z is not SkyActiv-X with a new name. The engineering approach is fundamentally different. Where SkyActiv-X was a complex, spark-controlled compression ignition system bolted onto a 2.0-liter base, the SkyActiv-Z is a ground-up redesign of the entire combustion architecture, built around a 2.5-liter base specifically engineered for Lambda 1 control. The thermal management is different. The injection system is different. The heat insulation technology is different. Mazda has explicitly stated that they took every lesson from SkyActiv-X's failures and rebuilt the entire program from scratch. Will the SkyActiv-Z deliver everything Mazda has promised in real-world driving? We will not know until late 2027 when the production CX-5 hits the road, but the engineering claims, Lambda 1 combustion, SPCCI dual-mode operation, Euro 7 compliance, are technically grounded, publicly stated, and mathematically possible. This is not vaporware. This is not a concept. This is a production engine with a confirmed launch vehicle, with a confirmed timeline, with named lead engineers who have publicly committed to specific performance targets. Take Mazda's track record into account. Be appropriately skeptical, but understand that this is the most serious combustion engine announcement of the last decade, and the European luxury industry is treating it accordingly. So here is where we land. Diesel is dead, killed by its own emissions problem in 2015, finished off by city bans across Europe, and now permanently replaced as a category by an engine that delivers diesel cycle efficiency without diesel's pollution. Traditional gasoline is dying, killed by Lambda compromise that turbocharged engineers have been failing to solve for 30 years, finished off by an engine that achieves perfect combustion across the entire operating range. the hybrid stalling tactic, the strategy that Toyota built its empire on, is exposed. Mazda has just demonstrated that you can hit hybrid equivalent fuel economy without the hybrid hardware, and then add the hybrid system on top of it for even more efficiency gains. The European 2035 combustion ban is functionally collapsing under its own contradictions. An engine that can run on synthetic fuel, achieve carbon-negative operation in its production roadmap, and meet every emissions standard ever written was supposed to be illegal in 9 years. Brussels is going to spend the next 5 years quietly rewriting that legislation, and the small Japanese automaker that was supposed to be too small to matter, too slow to compete, too obsessed with internal combustion to survive the EV transition, just shipped the engine that everyone else said could not be built. The next generation Mazda CX-5 launches in late 2027. The inline-six luxury version follows shortly after. The carbon-negative synthetic fuel pathway is on the engineering roadmap, and every other major automaker on Earth is now scrambling to figure out whether their next powertrain investment is already obsolete the day it launches. Diesel is dead. Petrol, as we knew it, is dead. The hybrid stalling tactic is dead. And the engine that killed all three of them came from a company most of you didn't think was capable of it. That is the SkyActiv-Z. That is what Mazda just did. And the next decade of the automotive industry is going to be defined by who copies it fastest and who collapses trying. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. Has Mazda just executed the cleanest, most surgical kill shot in modern automotive history? Or do you think Toyota and BMW have a countermove that nobody has seen yet? Drop your honest opinion below. If this forensic deep dive into the engine that just rewrote internal combustion physics gave you something the mainstream auto press refused to talk about, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more uncompromising technical breakdowns of the engineering wars reshaping the global auto industry. I'll see you in the next one.